welcome back to The Five. Well, a bunch of kids failed a major writing test in Florida, but instead of raising the bar, one Florida school district decided, yes, to lower the bar. Now the question is being asked, who's to blame? Are the teachers to blame? Are the students to blame for failing this semi-easy writing test? Or is it the school district? Now, Greg, I wish when I was in school, I wouldn't, actually I was good at writing, but let's say I was in my math classes, which I was horrible in. Could you imagine most of the students failing this test and then the superintendent having an emergency meeting saying, okay, wait a minute, we're actually going to try and lower the bar a little more to make these students look better?
I wish they would do this everywhere. Can I revise my height to 6'1"? I mean, come on. Here's the thing. This is the fault of two phenomenons colliding. The self-esteem movement, which tells you can't fail, and then you have teachers' unions that reward failure. You put those two together, you have an education that can't teach a dog to bark.
That's a very interesting point, though. If they're going to lower the bar, which means I guess they're going to grade on a curve.
They're going to change the test.
No, but there's a lot of funding that goes to school systems and states who have high test scores. Maybe it's all just a way of beefing up their numbers for money.
Well, that's true, but Dana, I want to ask you, Fred Grimm in the Miami Herald, he actually blames the Florida education system because they keep changing the standards. They keep, God forbid, raising the bar. And the superintendent of the Miami-Dade school said that he actually knew that the students were going to fail. He just didn't know how severe it was going to be.
President Bush used to call the lowering of the standards for of kids, the soft bigotry of low expectations. And one of the things here was, it was write a story or an essay about a camel.
Yes.
And one of the teachers said, it was a very poor prompt, because when do we see camels in Central Florida? These are fourth graders, and they don't know what a camel is?
Why are they teaching him about smoking?
I know,
that's offensive.
Yes.
You know, it's easy to laugh about that, but I think using the camel is exactly the wrong thing. If they said a horse, I think you would have seen double the kids pass it. How many people do see camels in Central Florida? Now, if you want to go with the Bedouins, you're fine.
Well, maybe they were being tolerant. They were trying other cultures.
Right.
You know where you're going with this. You're going with the standardized test being racially skewed.
No, not at all. I'm just saying that if you want to say something of transportation and most Islamics, that's fine. But that is not in Central Florida.
But can I quote another teacher from here? This is my favorite line of the story. Teachers say the question's the main reason why only 27% of those students passed. And she's quoted saying, I couldn't even write about the camel prompt, and I've been writing for 40 years. It's a fourth grade writing level. She's a teacher for 40 years, and she couldn't write about a camel?
Yeah. How about this one, Eric? A student gets on a camel, rides around, doesn't spend time doing his homework. Eventually, he gets off the camel. His teachers don't scold him, and he has a hard time finding a job, so he joins Occupy Wall Street. Done.
Done. It goes into that whole thing of everyone gets a trophy, don't keep score, now lower the bar. I mean, it's not doing our kids any good.
Wait a second. You know, the Florida fourth graders are the seventh state in the union, and the highest in rating on doing writing and reading in public school scores, and they're 11th in writing for grade 8. Now, do you know of the bottom 20 states, 15 of them are run by Republicans?
Well, actually, the reason that the Florida
are run by Democrats.
One of the reasons that the Florida education system was doing so much better is because Jeb Bush, as governor, absolutely changed that system. And then when he fought the teachers' unions tooth and nail. But the thing is that he tried to do was to give parents more power, to say that if your school is failing you and your students, then you should be able to do something about it and hold them accountable.
Well, if he did, and I agree that he did a lot on public education, that must say that if they're coming in here at this level, when nationally they're at a very high level, then somehow something's wrong with the test.
Who was number one?
Who's number one?
On both of those lists?
I think Massachusetts.
No, New Jersey.
New Jersey.
So do we give Chris Christie
Governor
props
Chris
for that?
Christie.
Do we give him props
Well, you just said
proper respect.
I think that I would give Chris Christie some credit.
All right, good.
Greg, doesn't that make the school look bad, though? I mean, they had these high-scoring students, and then they have to have this emergency meeting, and they lower the standards instead of raising the bar.
But, I mean, it just shows the more you spend on education, the dumber kids get.
Well, why don't they just turn on National Geographic for an hour?
Ridiculous.
Exactly.
It's true.
That's just
We've
ridiculous.
tripled spending in decades, and look what we got.
Florida's had a very good, and Jeb Bush deserves credit for a very good education system, and something that tells you if they're doing badly, something's wrong with this test.
All right, no whining from you, Bob, because we're going to talk about it next. Coming up, do whiners drive you crazy? Well, Dana has some advice for all those wah-wah Debbie Downers out there. You know who you are.